75 miles and a lifetime of basketball memories between the Pitt Panthers and the West Virginia Mountaineers. And today, the backyard brawl comes back to life. For the 186th time, this rivalry is renewed. And from inside a sold-out and raucous West Virginia Coliseum in Morgantown alongside Fran Fraschilla, I'm Rich Hollenberg. This iteration of the backyard brawl is, in a word, Fran, different for both programs.
Well, it really is. And for West Virginia, Javon Carter's left with those 105 wins. West Virginia is dead. But that doesn't mean the culture of toughness can't be revived under Bob Huggins, which is exactly what he's looking for from his team that is struggling. Jeff Capel, on the other hand, is trying to build that same culture of toughness at Pittsburgh, where they have had, in recent years, great basketball tradition, toughness, defense, and winning ways. He's looking to get back in Oakland, Pennsylvania.
And this is the first time in 6 years this rivalry is back in Morgantown, and it's the first time that anybody, as part of this Pitt program, has been into this backyard brawl rivalry. First-year head coach, new staff, and a bunch of young players that we'll be talking about this afternoon. Your officials, Roger Ayers, Bert Smith, Jeff Harkness. The West Virginia Mountaineers are in their home gold, the road blues for the Pitt Panthers. And interesting to note, Fran, Sags Konate, preseason All-Big 12, will be coming off the bench this afternoon for Bob Huggins.
Has not practiced all that often recently because of a knee injury, but also maybe a little message sent for a young guy that hasn't had the kind of start we all expected to his junior year.
Logan Rout jumps it up in Sags' place, and West Virginia opens with possession.
And I think for West Virginia, you have to go inside early and attack the basket and get back to what we talked about, playing with some toughness on the offensive end.
Here's Beetle Bolden, 3 in goal. Bolden gets it blocked. And Isamad, the leading scorer for the Mountaineers, open things up.
They're going to throw a little full court pressure out here to try to create some of that West Virginia defense we've seen in the last 4 years.
3 freshman starters for Jeff Capel's Pitt Panthers. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the pressure.
Poise. That's the key word the first 4 minutes for the Panthers. Poise.
Xavier Johnson, their leading scorer, got the foul. And as you see the West Virginia lineup without Sags Konate, Logan Rout making his 2nd career start. But Beetle Bolden is going to be at the point for the most part. 3 different point guards used already by Bob Huggins.
It's not an area where he has been most comfortable during his career. He's a scorer.
Here's another freshman, Trey McGowan's, and he traveled along the baseline. First turnover of the afternoon for the Pitt Panthers.
When you've got a team like Jeff Capel has starting 3 freshmen, it's really important that you explain to them, look, let's get to the 16-minute mark of the first half and be poised. Let's get good shots. You're not going to win this game early. It's going to be a 40-minute battle. Young guys have to learn that at the college level.
Here's Bolden guarded by a freshman, number 5, Audice Toney. 7 on the shot clock for the Mountaineers. Bolden, left-handed 3, got it. And a foul is going to be called on Bolden, even though he was on the ground first.
Bolden wasn't paying attention when the ball was thrown away. He was not watching the ball. Fell to the ground, and in the eyes of the official, he caused the offensive player to trip. So it's an unfortunate foul for Bolden. Bob Huggins is not happy about that.
2 early fouls for Bolden, so to the bench he goes. Brandon Napper, number 2 in goal, in his place. Here's Chukwuku along the baseline. Malik Ellison, offensive foul, 2nd turnover for Pitt. And there's one thing that Jeff Capel said coming into this game that his team needs to be careful of. It's valuing the basketball.
Well, it is, no question. And there's a perfect example of Malik Ellison pushing off. Again, poise is a key. Take care of the ball. Get good shots. So far, first couple possessions have been empty.
Chase Harler, and a traveling violation on the junior from out of West Virginia.
It's interesting at home in this building with the sellout that Bob Huggins has opened up with this full court pressure, and it's rattled the Panthers right now, as you can tell.
Xavier Johnson all the way to the rack.
That's how you do it. The attack pressure, and we saw that athleticism that has led him to be one of the best freshmen in the ACC early in the season.
Logan Rout, too strong on the jump hook. Here comes Ellison. And he lost it, taken away by Harler. Spin move, Harler out of control.
Right now, everybody's out of control. Both teams.
Napper calls his own number.
Pittsburgh's going to have to do a better job of handling this pressure because they have been rattled in the full court so far.
In the opening 3+ minutes, Fran, 4 Pitt possessions, 3 turnovers. Here's Xavier Johnson. He had the dunk, now he has a triple.
Oh, you're going to like this guy. And Pitt Panther fans, they've got themselves a burgeoning star. Somebody that Jeff Capel can build around. This kid is a tough, hard-nosed player. And he's already a good offensive player for the Panthers.
In terms of ACC freshmen, only Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett scoring more per game than Johnson. There's a West Virginia turnover. And Johnson dials it up again off the mark. And a foul on the floor. We're going the other way.
Well, let's watch this now. Johnson has electric athleticism. He's out of a tremendous high school, Bishop O'Connell, in the Washington, D.C. area, arguably the best high school league in the country, where he was a first-team all-conference. And Jeff Capel was able to cajole him into coming to Pittsburgh and helping reignite this basketball program.
Number 4 in blue, Jared Wilson Frame, has checked in for Jeff Capel, the only senior on this Pitt Panther roster. Ahmad inside. First time we're seeing Sags Kanate on the floor. And Kanate gets a taste of his own medicine there as we go to break. The backyard brawl is reborn in Morgantown.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Phillips 66, proud sponsor of Big 12 basketball.
There have been 185 previous backyard brawls. We're going to show you throughout this game a couple of the more memorable ones. How about March 12, 2009? Pitt came into the Big East tournament ranked 2nd in the country, but West Virginia pulled off the upset 74-60. Devin Ebanks leading the way with 20 points, a career high. And DeJuan Blair for Pitt, who's the co-Big East Player of the Year that year, fouled out and had to watch this game from the sidelines for the most part.
Yep, and one of the byproducts of realignment, if you will, has been the loss of some of these great rivalries that have been, at least with these two teams, in conference rivalries, the old Big East, the old Atlantic 10. And so to reignite this backyard brawl, they're going to do it in football as well, I believe, in 2020, is terrific. 70 miles apart, and they've been playing since 1906, I believe. That's a long time.
Here's Napper. He already has a 3. Missed that one. Ellison, the weak side rebound. Here's the senior Wilson Frame.
Last year's leading scorer, and he can provide some offense for this young team.
Here's Xavier Johnson, 1 in blue.
Very fortunate that wasn't a foul.
Well, Sags Kanate on the floor after the timeout. He had come on right before the last whistle when we went to immediate timeout.
Yeah, and he, because of the knee injury and I think a couple of things, put his name in the NBA draft. He's not playing well. He's not playing what we all expected him to play at, the level His shot blocking is down. He's spending a lot of time away from the basket. And I think it's because he's thinking more about playing at the next level. And the truth is, Rich, I've said this so many times. Take a look right here. This is a block shot by Lamont West. When you play in the NBA, there's only 25 stars. Everybody else is a role player. This kid's role, if he ever makes the league, rebound, shot block, run the floor. Jump shots can come later.
Here's Johnson again attacking, and it goes off the window.
Strong move and good defense by Ahmad. He played vertically that time, but you saw the strength of Xavier Johnson. He took the body right to the senior.
All 7 Pittsburgh points scored by the freshman Xavier Johnson. Inside, the foul's going to go on Ellison again. Well, Bob Huggins in his 12th season at his alma mater, 37th overall, 850 career wins. Next up on that list will be Adolph Rupp with 876.
Yeah, but now listen, he's going to the Hall of Fame. When? Who knows? Next year, 2 years, 3 years. There's no reason to beg for this guy to be in the Hall of Fame. He's going into the Hall of Fame. The 7th winningest all-time coach. The 6 ahead of him, including Rupp, who's next, are all in the Hall of Fame. Personally, I'd love to see Eddie Sutton get in the Hall of Fame soon. Former coach at Oklahoma State.
Yeah. And we saw Bob Huggins. How about Jeff Capel in his first season at Pitt, 10th overall as a head coach. He spent the last 7 years as Mike Krzyzewski's top assistant at Duke, helped them to a 2015 national championship. Stops at VCU in Oklahoma as a head coach prior.
Absolutely. And there were some people that were surprised that he took the Pitt job because of the fact that they're now on a 22-game losing streak in the ACC. But watching practice Thursday and spending some time with Jeff, it's a great fit if you think about it. The league, the city is a sports fan's heaven with the pro teams. This job reminds me of the Minnesota Golden Gophers in that it's pro sports town, but they love their college team. And I really love what Jeff is doing. They're 7-2. They're going to struggle in the ACC, I'm just telling you. But if he can get some guys to add to this freshman class, I think they can have the kind of success that Ben Howland and Jamie Dixon had. What has changed, Rich, is that in that era, the majority of players that came to Pitt were New York and Jersey and Philly kids. They had the chance to go back home and play at Madison Square Garden, close to their homes. It's a little different in the ACC now. The footprint's different. But I think Jeff's got that national appeal to recruits.
Well, Fran, it's been a while since they've renewed this rivalry. They played last year. They'll play a couple more years after this under this current contract. But as you can tell from the early going, things are still frisky and chippy, to say the least. Double technicals called before that last free throw. Wilson framed for Pitt and Lamont West for West Virginia. It's a 9-7 West Virginia lead.
What you got to do with Johnson in pick and roll is you got to really crowd him with the big guy. Almost trap it out of his hands. Just watch.
And an offensive foul going the other way. Terrell Brown, the big man for Jeff Capel, whistled for the foul. He immediately goes to the bench. Today on ESPN, we got an afternoon college doubleheader. We start with old Big East rivals squaring off. Georgetown taking on Syracuse at the Dome at 3:30. Then Zion Williamson and number 3 Duke hosting Yale at Cameron Indoor.
Speaking of realignment, there will never be the kind of intensity of games that were played in the old Big East. And when you think of the old Big East, Georgetown and Syracuse come to mind. My best memory of that rivalry was the final game at Manley Fieldhouse when Georgetown came in.
I was hoping you weren't going to bring that up,
I know.
Fred.
And Georgetown won the game, and John Thompson in the post-game press conference, you remember what he said, right? Manley Fieldhouse is officially closed.
Canate went down, but no foul call.
Checking back in for Mountaineers,
You want physical basketball, Fran? You got it.
Well, we've got it, and you know what? The officials have done a good job of letting them play physically, but also have made some calls to let them know, hey, we're going to control this game. Very important. Veteran crew out here.
Here's Johnson. He's been all the offense for Pitt. McGowan's fellow freshman. Good with the three-pointer.
These kids are impressive, and they're going to grow up quickly over the next 3 months. McGowan's, Tony, and Johnson.
First lead of the game for the Panthers. 13:30 to go in the first half. There's Konate. He's gotten more comfortable shooting the three. And this one rattles around and out.
But he's not going to get any offensive rebounds playing out there. And the guy that got the rebound was the smallest guy on the court. It's just, in my mind, and I love the NBA draft, he's making a mistake playing out there too much.
And Kenneth Chukwukwu called for the up and down.
Doug Collins once told me, and it's so true, know your role, stay in your role, star in your role. And last year, Sax Konate was the best shot blocker in college basketball. We did so many West Virginia games and highlighted that shot blocking, and his block rate this year is basically cut in half.
That's a big reason why this West Virginia team as a whole looks so different in the early going than they did last year.
Well, it's because of the guards, Miles and Carter, certainly.
Here's McGowan's tried to throw it down off the back iron. And City Endier can't pay it off from beyond the arc. Johnson got the offensive board, turned it over.
I think you got to call that trip. You got to call that.
Bolden off the mark. And Andrew Gordon, the reserve, comes on. A fight for the loose ball, and we have a jump ball. And Andrew Gordon's not moving, standing over one of the Pitt Panthers.
Listen, here's what I like about this. And I said this at the beginning. Jeff Capel is trying to, I think they got double T's again. One of them's Gordon. Jeff Capel is trying to establish that culture of toughness. And his team has brought it in here today. But I think the easy way out is to go to the monitor and call double technicals. Jeff Capel is not happy about that.
A double technical foul has been called on Pitt, number 12.
So the double technicals are going to go on Chukwuka for Pitt and Andrew Gordon, number 12, for West Virginia.
Let's watch right here. They're going to just grab the ball, and it's going to be a tie-up. And see, now that should have been a technical foul on Gordon and not Chukwuka. All Chukwuka did was sit there, and Gordon intentionally walked over him.
Correction, the technical fouls have been called on Pitt's number 15, Kenneth Chukwuka, and West Virginia's number 12, Gordon.
Now, unless Chukwuka says something to him, and also remember, the double technical is kind of the bailout.
Right. No free throws. It'll be Pitt basketball.
Right. But and I think Jeb Harkness right now is telling Gordon, look, play hard, but we don't need you walking over the guy.
And a dead ball foul allows West Virginia to set up its full court press. This time it's handled by City Endier. Endier, the most experienced player on this Pitt roster. Chukwuka off the mark. Here's McGowan's off the window.
That was well done. You see how he hesitated? He let the shot blockers jump first, and on their way down, McGowan's made the shot. Mountaineers are playing hard. They've come out here with some intensity, but Pitt has matched that intensity.
Pitt's on a 10-2 run to have a 12-9 lead, 8 minutes gone by in the first half. Gordon, superior athlete, gets it off the window, and he'll go to the line and shoot two. We'll take a timeout on the floor with 11:55 to go. The backyard brawl is back. Well, Fran, we said at the top of this telecast, this would be a different backyard brawl. One thing that's the same, it's physical.
Yeah, no question about it. And what you have is the tradition and history that we've talked about with these two programs. And then you have two coaches who are looking to get their teams to compete even harder they have already early in the year. And that's what we've seen. Give credit to Pitt for matching that intensity on the road. And on the other hand, I've seen West Virginia, they're playing a little bit harder tonight than what we saw Tuesday in New York when they lost to Florida. A game that I know, in us talking to Bob Huggins yesterday, he was not happy with.
After a slow start, Pitt shooting 5 for 10 from the field. They have themselves a 3-point lead, and they handle the full court pressure again. Xavier Johnson with the basketball. He's the game-high scorer with 7. Here's City Endear. High off the glass, no good. And Wesley Harris comes away with it for West Virginia.
I've seen Endear throw that one down in the past.
There's Konate out on the wing.
I'd back off him. I'd let him shoot that. Because if he shoots it,
he does.
You're not going to get the offensive rebound.
And he's 0 for 2 from the field.
Keep shooting it if you're Pittsburgh. Someone's gotten into his head, and it's not the same player I remember a year ago. Looks like we've got more contact. And I think what you got to do right now if you're a player, and this goes for the two coaches too, is say, look, play the game. Don't get caught up in any woofing back and forth. The idea is to win the game. Play hard, compete, but we're not into a wrestling match here.
Well, no one wants to give up any loose balls. 50-50 balls will be key in this afternoon's game. Johnson called for the foul that time.
You know, Xavier Johnson needs to be in this game for 40 minutes, and there's no reason to foul 94 feet from the basket.
Harris misses the front end of the 1-and-1.
If I'm West Virginia, I trap the ball screen every time Johnson comes off that ball screen.
Ten on the shot clock for Pitt. With 5 to shoot, McGowan's no good, and the rebound to Beetle Bolden.
Got a miss. Well, they had the mismatch inside.
There's Konate in the post. Splits the double team and gets the right hand to go.
It's not hard. That's exactly what Bob Huggins wants out of Konate. Do what you do best. Play near the basket first. That's the dunk I was telling you was coming.
City Endear with an exclamation point.
Remember our conversation with him yesterday? I said, I want to see one of those. Now he's going to get doubled, so he's got to see the court and be a playmaker from there.
Instead, he spins and can't hit. Good follow tip by Emmett Matthews Jr.
And you know what that shot did with 2 guys on him? It opened up the backside for an offensive rebound.
That was a West Virginia specialty a season ago. They led the nation in offensive rebound.
Absolutely.
And there's a whistle in the backcourt. It's going to go on Wesley Harris. Well, we might have ourselves one, if not more, SportsCenter Top 10 nominees. This one by City Endear.
It's the young man that graduated from New Mexico State and came to Pittsburgh as a graduate transfer, and he's had a couple of those highlight dunks this season. Young man from France who has made his way to the United States, had a nice career down in Las Cruces.
He can score, averaging 5.8 a game, but he also distributes well. 18 assists, only 8 turnovers so far this season. And Jeff Capel is going to rely on his experience more than anything this year with the young team. Pitt leads it by 1. Backyard brawl, the 186th meeting between West Virginia and Pittsburgh. Chukwuka, left hand, no, route the rebound.
Good execution of that pick and roll with the little pocket pass, but Chukwuka couldn't knock down the left-hand layup.
Here's Jermaine Haley, 10 in gold. Ahmad. Too strong, got his own miss. And a fresh 30 for West Virginia. Now Bolden for 3, short. And Endear comes away with it.
They got numbers right now.
McGowan's takes it himself, and he got fouled in the paint. Well, tonight at 8 Eastern and 5 Pacific on ESPN, we have the 84th annual Heisman Trophy ceremony from New York City. We do know the winner will be a quarterback. The question is, will it be Tua Tagovailoa, Kyler Murray, or Dwayne Haskins? You can watch that tonight on ESPN. Fran Fraschilla, college football analyst. Your pick.
Well, all three of those guys in any given year could be the Heisman Trophy winner. I think it's going to be Kyler Murray coming on late.
Really?
In fact, yeah. Listen, they all deserve it. If you look at Dwayne Haskins' ridiculous video game numbers, and that's the greatest quarterback performance in the history of the Big Ten. I think the late charge by Murray gives it to him. Tua's had a great year. He only had 50 snaps, I think, roughly in the fourth quarter of games this year. That's not his fault, certainly.
Ahmad, nice pass, big to big. Logan Routt finishes with a slam. Johnson, travel. Seventh pick turnover.
Well, Ahmad came off that curl screen. Watch him come off the curl. He draws the defense and then drops a nice pass to Logan Routt. Young man from Cameron, West Virginia, up in the north part of the state. 6'10", former high school quarterback. Former walk-on.
That's going to be an and one opportunity for Issa Ahmad. He got the bump and the bucket.
I love the aggressiveness there. Little full court, three-quarter court pressure by Pitt. They got the ball to the middle, and then you want to see this from Ahmad. Get to the basket and play with toughness. If there's one thing that's been missing early in the year for this West Virginia team, and you don't say this very often about Bob Huggins' teams, is toughness. Hasn't always been evident throughout this 5-3 start.
Ahmad has 7. That matches game-high score honors. And West Virginia is back on top by 3 with 8 minutes to go. And when we return, one of West Virginia's own will join us at the broadcast table. Nathan Adrian, who graduated a couple seasons ago, will share his memories of the backyard brawl and the current state of the Mountaineers. Stay with us. 8 minutes left in the first half of the latest edition of the backyard brawl between West Virginia and Pitt. And we're joined by not only a West Virginia Mountaineer, but a West Virginia native son. Nathan Adrian joins us at the broadcast table. You've been around West Virginia basketball your entire life. What are your thoughts about the first 8 minutes of this backyard brawl?
This is the kind of basketball I miss with West Virginia. It's the old Big East. There's a lot of fouls, not much scoring, good defense. I love watching these kind of games.
Now, you never played in a backyard brawl, but you grew up in Morgantown. So what's your recollections of this rivalry?
These are the first games I remember coming to is Pitt basketball and Pitt football. And then 2010 when we played, and this place is packed, it was standing room only. Those games are just great to me.
When you were playing, that was when Press Virginia was really just coming of age. What do you remember most about how much it took to succeed in that type of environment?
It was a hard thing to learn because you got to practice every day like that. It's not like you can come out and just play that hard in a game. You got to do it every day, and that's kind of what we're struggling with this year. We got a young team. They haven't quite realized how hard they have to work every day to be successful.
What are some of the aside from playing hard, what are some of the basketball things that this team can get better at? Obviously, there's no more Javon and Dax to save the day, yourself. Where are the specific areas, besides playing hard, they can improve?
Just communicating better. They haven't quite gotten the chemistry down. You can tell they're a step late on defense, so they're getting straight line drive a lot. They're not getting in their offense sets quick enough. They're getting down the shot clock early, forcing them to take a lot of bad shots.
Right now, it's West Virginia with a 3-point lead. Just over 7 minutes to go in the first half. Here's Lamont West trying a 3. Routt with the offensive rebound. There's a fellow West Virginian getting in there for you.
Hey man, he has improved so much over the last 4 years. I'm real proud of him, the way he's been playing.
I love the way he plays. He knows his role. He knows his role.
He does it well. He plays hard.
What's your impression, Nate, with 3 freshmen out there for Pittsburgh, the way they've adjusted to the crowd today? And
they played hard. I'm surprised at how intense they've been. Like you said, they got 3 freshmen. I didn't know if they would come in and recognize the rivalry like they've had.
I've had some favorite players here through the years, but Logan Rao keeps growing on me.
Oh, almost made the steal there. Instead, it's Johnson. And an offensive foul. That's the 9th Pittsburgh turnover.
For me, Rich, when I watched West Virginia this year, you had them in South Carolina. Just compete. Just play hard and put your body out there. The shots will fall, but this crowd, more than any other crowd that you see around the Big 12 or the country, appreciates guys that play maybe above themselves.
Yeah, that's really what they want to see. They want to see us come out and just compete hard. They don't care if we win, lose, don't make shots. As long as you're playing hard, they're going to be here to support us.
Well, so much is made about Bob Huggins and where he stands in the history of coaching. We were talking about it already. 850 wins. He's a lock for the Hall of Fame. What was it like from the inside? What was it like playing for Bob Huggins?
Coach Huggins is so much different than what you see in the game when he's yelling at us, yelling at the refs. He's so much different than that. He's such a caring guy. All he wants to do is win games for the state. It's all he tries to do.
What's your best memory of playing for him? Is there anything that sticks out?
That's a tough question there. Just senior night, coming out, seeing him at the end of the carpet for the last time, give him a hug. It was one of the better days of my life, and I'll never forget that.
I remember being there with you, Fran, last year when Javon and Dex came out and had that experience. And as we've come to expect already in the first half of this game, the backyard brawl, the officials are at the scorer's table to look like what was another near dust-up between Pitt and West Virginia.
The officials Jeff Harkness just came over and said that they're looking to see if somebody spit on another player. So they went to monitor to check that out. It's been everything I thought it would be today, Rich. We know both teams have had their moments where they've struggled, but I just love the intensity today.
And we've seen Sagaba Konate effective when he is in his office in the low post. What's it going to take to get Sags back to where we saw him last year, Nathan?
I think he's just kind of struggling to adapt too. Like Fran said, losing Javon's been a big deal because he took away a lot of things on the defensive end. He stood people up to where Sags could come block shots. On the offensive end, he's just taking more threes, which isn't bad because he makes them when he's open. I think he's shooting about 40% on the year. So he's not a bad shooter, but he really needs to establish himself down low or else we have no inside game.
Yeah, and that's something I've said a couple times today. I love the idea that he's improved his game away from the basket, but don't get away from what makes you great.
Exactly.
And I think that he, to me, coming into this year, should be one of the most dominant players in the Big 12, Rich. And jump shots are fine, but if he wants to play in the NBA, they want to see him rebound and block shots and run. Everybody in that league's a role player except for the 25 starters. You can make a lot of money rebounding and blocking shots.
Tristan Thompson, for example, he can't shoot. He makes a whole lot of money rebounding the ball, though.
Tristan Thompson playing for the Cavaliers, won an NBA ring with LeBron James. This is an electric environment. Any favorite games jump out for you playing in front of the hometown crowd?
Baylor, when they were number 1, they came in. Kansas, we beat them when they were number 1. We've had a lot of good games in here. They're exciting.
Well, here again is the play that's caused this stoppage in play. Konate with the two-hand jam and almost landed right on Kenneth Chukwuku.
Well, there's the charge. Good job by Chukwuku. And then Konate's just following through. And you see him, he's hanging on the rim and to try to avoid, I believe, the contact.
Fran, we mentioned at the top of this telecast, it's an interesting iteration of the backyard brawl in as much as Jeff Capel and his entire coaching staff and roster has never experienced the intensity of this rivalry, and yet the first 14 15 minutes has been every bit as intense as we anticipated.
When you're building a new program, and remember now, they lost their last 19 games of the season a year ago. He comes from a winning culture playing at Duke and coaching with Mike Krzyzewski. The wins and losses are important, but more importantly is establishing a style of play and a culture of how we practice every day, how we compete, and more importantly than anything, how do you compete on the road? Because great teams are built by going on the road and winning in places like Allen Fieldhouse or WVU Coliseum. And so far, his team's done a good job of that.
Now we're going to play ball again. 6:28 to go. West Virginia up 5, and all much ado about nothing.
Yeah, just checking because they had the charge and nothing else. And again, Konate is allowed to hang on the rim to protect himself, which I saw he was trying to do.
So again, because of the whistle, West Virginia able to set up that full court press.
Even when you don't steal it, Rich, you take time off the clock, and they're just getting into their offense with about 15.
That's no right. Xavier Johnson on the floor for Pitt.
That was a lot of our goal with the press work, just to slow them down so they got down here, and just like that, they'd be forced to get out of control and make a bad play.
And guys like you didn't have to guard as hard in the half court, right?
Trust me, guarding in the half court is still easier than that.
Yeah, you're right. Rich, we saw Nathan on that top of the press for so long. We were talking yesterday, and I said to him, hey, you were a step slow, but 2 steps ahead.
Right now, it's West Virginia who's ahead. Jump hook by Konate.
I like it. You know what? Dominate inside and then take your game away from the basket as well.
An 11-1 West Virginia run. The Pitt offense has gone silent with Xavier Johnson on the bench. 7 to shoot, and they throw it away. 11 Pittsburgh turnovers. Konate can't finish. And here's a leak out by Jared Wilson. And they almost lost it out of bounds. Indeed, he did. A dozen Pitt turnovers. Fran, they averaged just 13 turns a game.
What you love if you're a West Virginia fan is the intensity level of their defense is ratcheting up and causing Pitt to play this way. This is a 2-on-0 break, and how about catching the ball with 2 hands first? Instead of trying to dribble a pass, catch it, dribble it, and that would have been an easy play.
Jeff Capel's Pitt Panthers have turnovers on 6 straight possessions. This is a West Virginia-type pressure that we have not seen yet this year.
Mountaineers have always been good versus the zone because Ahmad can pass in the middle.
Konate, shoulder fake, turns, and can't hit.
I still like it. I still like him playing from the paint out.
Johnson back on the floor. Jared Wilson frame, can't hit. Weak side rebound to Ahmad.
When Pitt has the ball right now, it's like a time bomb with the pin out. They're just getting rid of it because the pressure has been intense.
Lamont West muscles his way up and gets fouled. He'll go to the line and shoot too.
This is a little thing, Rich. But Konate that time, he drew a couple defenders in the lane, and nobody saw the offensive player on the baseline. And that's a little thing. It'll never show up in the stat sheet. But the fact that he's become more of a threat in the paint meant there were 2 blue jerseys around him. And that allowed Lamont West to get behind the defense.
And now Konate and Chukwukwu exchanging pleasantries as Lamont West is going to shoot a couple of free throws, and Konate walking to half court, maybe wisely, to avoid another technical shoot.
I want to ask you this, Nate. In a game like this that starts out so chippy, and there's a little bit of talking back and forth, and you've been in a million of those games, how do you get yourself to focus on, you know what? we played 16 minutes. Now we just got to win the game, and we got to just focus on what we're doing.
Yeah, you have a job to do at the end of the day. You can get into it, you can get a little chippy, but at the end of the day, you got to play basketball. You can't worry about it. You can't get technicals like Lamont did. It's just bad plays, and it kind of gives you
saps your energy.
Exactly. Especially with how intense West Virginia's playing, you don't want that to happen because this is how they need to play to be successful. And hopefully a rivalry game like this will wake them up and make them realize that.
And when you pick up a technical foul, which is a personal, and now you foul again, it doesn't help your cause if you want to stay out on the floor.
Especially because I think that's his third now, isn't it?
Well, foul trouble will rear its head, as we've seen a number of whistles. And Xavier Johnson at the line hits the front end to the 1-and-1.
This young guy I mentioned, he played in my mind, the best high school league in the country. Bishop O'Connell, how about this? They produced Kendall Marshall and Mello Trimble in recent years. And it's apparent that as a freshman, he's next in line.
He's got 9 in the first half. That ball goes out of bounds, and that's a West Virginia turnover.
Wesley Harris checks back in for the Mountaineers.
And now Wes Harris will check in for Lamont West. There's a deep Bob Huggins basketball team. Still, as we are getting towards the middle of December, trying to figure out that rotation as he heads into Big 12 conference play. Johnson tried for the lob, and the foul's called on the floor. We'll take a timeout with WVU up by 7. Nathan Adrian, a pleasure to have you joining the broadcast team, and I have a feeling we'll see you with headsets on a little bit more in your career.
Appreciate it, guys.
We're back from West Virginia after this.
Rivalry game.
They're both great rivalries, Seth, but I think when you're 3 miles apart or 3.6 miles apart and you have to see each other at the mall, I think Xavier, I think the crosstown shootout, man, that's as intense as it gets.
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest rivalries in the country, that they're so closely aligned.
Jason Capel knows what a college basketball rivalry is all about, playing his college ball in North Carolina against Duke, where his brother Jeff, the head coach, played. And an interesting note, now that Seth is watching intently, Jason and Jeff, part of a brother coaching combo for the first time in the ACC since Seth and Brad Greenberg.
Where the assistant coach is actually smarter than the head coach.
You said that.
No, it's great when you have basketball in your family. And
you do too with your 2 sons.
Yeah, the Capels, you know, Jeff's dad passed away a year ago, and we talked about it the last couple of days. I know he misses him. Jeff Capel II was a great man, a great role model.
Points off turnovers. Peter Bolden knocks down the 3.
You know, he's so comfortable in the open court. I mean, that's one of the easier threes he's gotten this season, and it came off that pressure.
And there's a foul called from behind, so Trey McGowens will go to the line and shoot.
Last year, the game came easy to Beetle Bolden because he got so many of these open looks because of the great guard play, Miles and Carter certainly. And he's also a tough shot maker. But it's hard to be a tough shot maker when you're also trying to play the point and get your team into the offense. And that's been one of his adjustments this season, along with the fact that he hasn't been completely healthy.
Yeah, they would love to play him off the ball so he can get more open looks for 3. Just haven't had the opportunity yet. And like Sags Kanate, he's been a little banged up this season.
Well, he's already the all-time career three-point shooter at West Virginia by percentage, about 41%.
That's 7 for Trey McGowens, 10 for Xavier Johnson. Ten on the shot clock for West Virginia. Chase Harler for 3.
You talk about a guy that's picked it up. Chase Harler has been shooting the ball extremely well this season. His freshman year, he did not play with a lot of confidence. two-time state player of the year, but this junior year, he's really started to come on and improve and give them some offense.
And the block from behind on the three. Bolden will go to the line and shoot two. West Virginia has matched its largest lead of the game with 2:16 to go.
And why? Energy on the defensive end. It started with the block from behind, and that led to the run out. And again, I think Bob Huggins, while not perfect, not a Picasso this first half, certainly a little bit more of the DNA we've seen the last 4 years. See, people forget that before Carter and Miles and Jawan State in his senior year, Gary Brown, they were struggling in the Big 12. And this is the first year where they really don't have the complement of guards that can play full court pressure night in and night out. But at home today in the rivalry, we've seen a much better facsimile of that full court press that won them a lot of games.
And both teams like to be aggressive and get to the line and get to the foul, get to free throws. Well, so far West Virginia is making the most of it. They are 7 for 8 from the free throw line in the first half. Largest lead of the game. It's 11 coming up on 2 minutes to go.
Xavier Johnson went to the locker room, but he's back checking in now at midcourt. He's a guy that's going to play in the high 30s this year, minutes-wise, if he's healthy.
Endear blocked from Ahmad. That's the third block for West Virginia. Make it 4, courtesy of Sags Kanate.
Does that look familiar? Where have we seen that before?
Napper off the window. Defense leads to offense.
And Kanate's defense really leads to offense.
Sags Kanate is now 5 shy blocks of the West Virginia all-time mark.
Coach, that wasn't a very pretty first half. How are you going to get back in the game?
Toilet.
Ooh, thank you for your time.
Bleep, bleep.
Largest lead of the game for West Virginia in the 186th backyard brawl. They lead Pitt 34-21, and Sags Kanate has come back to look like Sags Kanate.
Well, you know, it's no coincidence that he's established himself on the inside offensively and then on the defensive end. And it's led to really good offense. And even on this drive, the defense has to stay home on Kanate, and that allows Napper to get all the way to the basket.
And there's a three that silences the crowd. That's their first field goal from Pitt since the 10-minute mark of the first half.
Remember, Ahmada's the guy in that middle of that zone that's a very good passer. So keep your eye on him.
They get it to Kanate. 2 feet in the paint. Short. He gets it back. And Kanate with the flush.
Simple game. Do what you do best. Watch out.
Ellison went right at Kanate. It goes out of bounds. No whistle. It'll stay Pitt basketball.
No player in the country that I've seen in the last few years has understood the rule about verticality inside the arc. Now here on the offensive end, he goes to work and follows up his miss. But what makes him such a great shot blocker is he's able to get into that restricted area and play vertically. And he doesn't have a ton of blocks, but he has a ton of intimidations.
McGowan's back-to-back threes for Pitt. And he's in double digits with 10.
They should get another possession if they get a stop and the defensive rebound.
9-second differential between shot clock and game clock. That one blocked out of bounds by Brown with 9 on the shot clock. And Bob Huggins with a use it or lose it timeout with 17.7 to go in the first half. Well, tonight, three-time world champion and current WBA lightweight title holder Vasily Lomachenko squares off against WBO lightweight champ Jose Pedraza in a unification bout at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden. Coverage of Top Rank Boxing starts at 9 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app.
That's going to come right after the Heisman Award.
Yes.
At 8 p.m.
Well, it's been a bit of a boxing match here at the WVU Coliseum.
Just what we expected. Both teams trying to find their identity still early in the year. We knew the intensity would be ratcheted up on both ends. It's caused some sloppy play, but it certainly hasn't diminished both the excitement and the intensity of this rivalry in the first half.
We've seen a much different West Virginia team this season so far. What's the biggest difference that you've seen today?
Well, it's been really a culmination of the last 4 years. They don't have the depth in the backcourt defensively that they did 4 years ago and even the last few years with Carter and Miles.
Bolden. And that's a freshman mistake from Trey McGowan's, fouling the shooter with 4 on the shot clock.
No question about it. And a freshman mistake is, that's well said, Rich, because he's got to understand in college you don't foul a really good shooter like Bolden. The effort is negated by the what I would call in this situation a low IQ play. He certainly doesn't have a low IQ game, Trey McGowan's, but that's one of those plays he'll learn. We don't foul a jump shooter and put him on the line with 12 seconds to go in the half.
Only one miss from the stripe so far as a team for West Virginia this afternoon.
A lot of pressure on this young man, Beetle Bolden, because he's on an island as a point guard. There is, you know, when Carter and Miles came to West Virginia as freshmen, people forget they had Gary Brown and Jawan Staten and junior college guys like Tariq Phillip, and that depth in the backcourt. While there is some depth, it's not experienced depth.
Well, 3 free throws from James Beetle Bolden makes him the game high scorer. Shot clock is off. 12 seconds left for Xavier Johnson and the Pitt Panthers before halftime.
Got to keep your head up. That's a freshman mistake. First of all, he didn't have his head up, so he didn't know where the 3 outlets were, because in high school he could dribble through a press like that. And then once he bumped into the defender, he traveled, and he's got to know better. He tries to draw a foul there, and then you see him travel, and even in a good high school league, that's not going to be a big factor to him, but it is here today.
Especially in Power Conference basketball, especially when you're on the road. 14 fouls, 14 turnovers for Pitt. That's not going to lead to much success. Last shot time for Beetle Bolden. A deep 3. It's off the mark, and we will go to halftime with West Virginia up by a dozen, 39-27. And the West Virginia defense has come to play. 14 forced turnovers for West Virginia has led to 15 points. 39-27, Mountaineers lead. Halftime here in Morgantown. We'll head to the studio with Chris Cotter and company right after this. Standing room only crowd at West Virginia University Coliseum for the 186th meeting of the Backyard Brawl. It's West Virginia 39, Pittsburgh 27 as we get set to start the second half alongside Fran Fraschilla. I'm Rich Hollenberg. Beetle Bolden leads the Mountaineers with 11 points, but we've seen Sagaba Konate after his first 2 shots, Fran, were 3-point attempts and he missed them both. He's gone inside and gone to work.
Well, he's taken 23 threes this year and he's made some, 9 of them. But really, his game starts from the paint out. And I think Bob Huggins, he said it in so many words, but he didn't call Konate out. But to me, this kid has to play from the rim out. And he's such a dynamic player, especially on the defensive end. We've seen some buckets today. But this is really where he shines, Rich, is he's as good a shot blocker as there is in the country. And you like the fact that when the defense is there, it turns into some intensity on the offensive end. And that's his game, and he's starting the second half. Remember, he's had injuries, so we'll cut him some slack, but I just think he's a better player from the paint out.
West Virginia with the ball in their home gold uniforms to start the second half. One of the great college basketball rivalries, Pitt and West Virginia, just 70-plus miles separating the two. And 186th time they've tangled on the hardwood. And an offensive foul to start the second half. That's going to go on Harris, his second.
Well, that's where passing is a big thing for West Virginia, because Konate was open inside, but no one was able to deliver the rock. And it ends up Harris doing something he's not really good at, and that is making himself a driver. For Pitt, Rich, it's all about poise. 14 turnovers is too much, and a lot of them were sloppy turnovers. Right there is a good example, and they got to eliminate those. They're going to get back in this game.
That one's tied up. It'll be possession arrow to the Pitt Panthers. And it's interesting, one of Jeff Capel's top assistants, Milan Brown, told us yesterday a key word is real estate. It's a battle of real estate. And what does he mean by that?
Well, you got to take care of the ball in your area of the court. That's going to cause you to get good shots and keep West Virginia from getting some of those turnovers that lead to baskets. And there you see Milan Brown, the only staff in the country with 3 former head coaches as assistant coaches. Tim O'Toole and certainly Jason Capel, along with Milan Brown. Milan's a great guy, great family. His brother Morocco is working for the Indianapolis Colts, director of college scouting. And I recruited Marseille, his little brother, at Manhattan College.
Yeah, Milan remembered that. Here's 5 on the shot clock. Tony, number 5, misses the jumper. Xavier Johnson got it deflected out of bounds. It'll stay. Oh no, it's going to be a foul on Konate.
There you see the head coaching experience we talked about. And I thought that possession right there, Pittsburgh slowed down, moved the ball, and were able to create an opportunity for Johnson to get fouled off that offensive rebound.
So Xavier Johnson, who scored in double figures in all 10 games to begin his collegiate career, is the game high scorer for the Pitt Panthers at this point.
This young man verbally committed to Nebraska to play for Tim Miles. He was recruited by Kenya Hunter, who is no stranger to the DC area, and Kenya left to go to Connecticut, be with Danny Hurley, and that's when Xavier opened up his recruitment. And what a young player's got to understand right now in a rivalry like this is the officials are going to blow the whistle early in the second half, because they knew there were a lot of hijinks in that first half. And so you have to understand that you can't get away with some of those things early in the second half, and he will learn.
Hijinks is a nice way of putting it. Very physical play here in Morgantown. Third foul on Xavier Johnson.
They've had that chance to throw it inside.
Now Konate in the high post. Had it knocked away from behind. Here's Johnson. Leaves it off. And an unforced error, although Sags Konate did a good job hustling to get back in transition.
That's what I call an intimidation. He is not going to get credit for a blocked shot there, Konate. But even Johnson, who plays with a lot of toughness, he kind of had second thoughts. You see, I would have challenged them. If you're Xavier Johnson, you're going to watch the tape and say, the next time I get a chance to punch it on a guy like Konate, I'm going to do it, because in being intimidated, he winds up turning the ball over.
Now Pitt falls back into a 2-3 zone. Why are they doing that?
Well, they just want to control the paint.
Harris with the easy follow.
When you look at West Virginia right now, they've got a couple guys that can make shots, but they're much better at scoring in the painted area.
The whistle is blowing early here. Not even 2 minutes gone by in the second half. It's a 41-28 West Virginia lead. That foul is going to go on Chase Harler.
There's 3 teams that make adjustments at halftime. Both Pittsburgh and West Virginia, and the third team are the officials. And you know, a veteran staff is saying, look, let's get it under control and blow the whistle.
There's another block by Konate, his second of the game. He's 4 shy of the all-time West Virginia record in that category. And that one's picked off. Here's McGowan's at the other end, misses the dunk. But the speedy Johnson chases it down.
But I like the challenge.
Yeah.
Whether Konate's there or not, you always go to the rim and attack the shot blocker.
Scramble for the loose ball.
Jump ball. Possession arrow.
And it is a jump ball. It'll be possession arrow to the Mountaineers.
In talking to the West Virginia coaching staff yesterday, Rich, like we did, they said, we thought he'd have the shot block record by now. You know, whatever it is, 8, 9, 10 games in. But it hasn't been to be, and you saw right there a little bit more of establishment of the, and there's that wave in the finger that we saw so much last year. He was #2 in the country in block rate a year ago. This year, coming into today, he's number 48. And that's pedestrian in my mind when it comes to that kind of shot blocking talent. There's not 47 better shot blockers in America.
9 times last year, he had 5 or more blocks.
Ask Kansas.
Good hands by McGowans. Bolden tries to save it out of bounds.
And that's one of those Achilles heels for West Virginia right now. Brandon Knapper's a redshirt freshman. He suffered a knee injury coming into his career here. Last year he was back middle of the year practicing against Miles and Carter. Right now he does not value the basketball enough for the coach to have a lot of confidence in him.
Here's Xavier Johnson. 12 points on the game. 3rd leading freshman scorer in the ACC. Chukwuku for 3. First points of the game for the junior out of Sweden. Pitt trying to hang around, down 10. Inside, Ahmad, quick to the hole.
That's where Ahmad is best. He's really good in the paint against the zone. He's a good passer. He also makes good decisions, and that time he got himself free on the cut. Good find by Bolden.
Ahmad averaging over 14 a game. He has 9 today.
Challenge.
He did. He lost control, and it's out of bounds.
He didn't go in with the force he needs to. We've seen him dunk already in this game. But watch Ahmad. He's going to work himself right through the middle of the zone and really does a good job here, because what you want to do is you don't want to shoot jump shots against the zone unless you have a great shooter spotted up. You want to score from the paint out, and that's a great way to do it with a good cut from the perimeter.
Pitt now 1 shy of their season high in turnovers. They have 17 today.
Throw it inside. Oh, that's a good shot.
Bolden for 3.
Yep. Good look and good scheme right now for West Virginia versus the zone. They're moving bodies and the ball well.
3rd 3 of the game for Bolden. And the challenge, and Konate erases it.
Remember what we said? Verticality. He does it as well as anybody.
It's going to stay Pitt basketball, but a 15-point West Virginia lead. Jeff Capel's team on the ropes in the backyard brawl. Well, we're brawling here in Morgantown, backyard style. Pitt is trailing big time, and Sags Konate is a big reason why.
Verticality. He did this as well as anybody in the country last year. He understands that when he goes straight up, hands in the air, straight to the ceiling, it's not going to be called a foul. He's gotten to where he knows that play well, and that's what makes him a great shot blocker.
Now we've got an offensive foul on Pitt immediately out of the timeout.
Yeah, but that's part of a young team, although that was a senior. You can't come out of a timeout and commit a foul. That's a hooking foul on Wilson Frame.
And that ties their season high with 18 turnovers.
Got to keep the ball moving now. You can't hold it. You can't waste your dribble, which Haley's doing right now.
With 7 on the shot clock, Ahmad. And Beetle Bolden comes away with it.
That's what you're talking about. Bob Huggins, it's warming his heart, trust me, to see Konate playing with that kind of fire that we saw the first 2 years here. He put his name in the NBA draft. They told him, hey, here's some things you have to work on. One of them was his perimeter game. but trust me, he's not going to play in the NBA because he's a great shooter.
And now things again getting physical in transition.
Yeah, these officials have done a good job. This is a hard game to officiate. A lot of conversation between the officials and players.
Vito Bolden took a shot to the chops, but he was called for the foul. It's his third.
Bolden got the first one out at midcourt.
So Bolden to the bench. Wilson frame, got it.
Good ball movement that time. Nice job by Endier to swing it. That allows Pitt to set up that pressure.
Now it'll be Harler and Haley doing most of the ball handling for the Mountaineers.
And Haley's got to keep the ball moving. They've gone back man to man.
Konate working on Brown. Spin. No. Ahmad offensive rebound. They got to shoot it. They do. It's off the mark. And Pitt comes away with it. A rare opportunity for back-to-back buckets now for the Panthers. And we're going the other way, says Roger Ayers.
And when Pitt values the ball and moves it well, they're getting good looks, but they've been sped up today. And then Konate doesn't have to do it in the air. He can do it on the ground, and impressed with him today. Remember, he is dealing with some knee issues that's kept him from practicing. Talked to some of these fans at halftime, and they were impressed with the effort and intensity of this team.
Ahmad at the other end, and there's some more John going on between Issa Ahmad and the freshman Xavier Johnson.
Roger Ayers had the whistle in his mouth, and he told him, Ahmad, I'm not going to hear any more of it, but I love this. You know what? We haven't seen very few, if any, dirty plays. They've just been hard-playing dudes out here.
Yeah, teams just want the basketball.
Yeah.
Now the Mountaineer Maniacs raising their voices in unison.
Good pressure.
And a double dribble called on the Panthers.
And that all started because they ratcheted up the pressure on the other side of the court.
20 turnovers for Jeff Capel's club.
Good trap. They trapped without fouling and sped up Wilson frame. And he ended up double dribbling.
And now a timeout is called with West Virginia 48-34 in the backyard brawl. We go back 8 years ago to 2010, then number 25 Pitt taking on number 5 West Virginia at the Peterson Event Center. And with 3 seconds left in the first overtime, Truck Bryant ties the game up to force a second OT. Fran, this one would end up going 3 overtimes with Pitt prevailing by 3, 98-95.
A good old Big East backyard brawl. Some great players in this rivalry, and this guy was a pretty good player himself, Bob Huggins, a former academic All-American at West Virginia. I think he's still West Virginia's all-time leading free throw shooter by percentage. I might be mistaken, but I'm not sure about that. But saw his brother Larry here today, former Ohio State Buckeye. Great basketball family, needless to say. Dad was a great high school coach.
Out of the timeouts, McGowan's picked it off, but he can't pay it off at the other end. Knocked out of bounds, and Burke Smith says it's going the way of the Mountaineers.
That's the 8th turnover for Xavier Johnson. And I saw this guy a couple weeks ago in Brooklyn against St. Louis. He's going to be an outstanding player. He needs to watch this entire tape, because 8 turnovers in a game like this is not going to win you a lot of games. It's part of the growing process with these 3 freshmen right now.
Here's Haley for 3. McGowan's had his shot altered. And route clears for West Virginia. Nice look ahead. Harler with the catch. And we have a technical foul called, and it's going to go on Jeff Capel.
That's a good technical foul.
Why do you say that?
Because he's letting his players and his fans know it's not just about the call. He's letting his team know, I'm going to fight for you. We haven't played well today, and we have a major road to hoe to try to come back in this game. But that's actually, to me, some frustration, but also a little bit of a message to his team, his fans, and also the officials. I'm going to keep fighting. There was a lot of contact both ways on those last few possessions, and he wasn't happy with the call. But again, first year, they've had some success. Take a look now at the top of your screen. And he's going to come way out on the court. And to me, that's one of those verticality plays he wasn't happy with, but Roger Ayers from across the court said, I'm going to tee him up.
And now Bob Huggins is looking for some clarification.
Jeff Capel, I watched practice Thursday, and I paid attention, which I try to do as much as possible. And he's got an incredible demeanor with his team. He's a great role model. He's one of the great players in Duke history. He played the point guard position. He's got young guards. This film session, when they get back to Pittsburgh in the next couple days, is going to be eye-opening because West Virginia is not 15 points better today, except when it comes to poise. And his young team has lost their poise today and had a lot of empty possessions.
You hear so much of the term culture being used around different programs, and sometimes it doesn't mean much, but you could tell with Jeff Capel that it does, and in just a short time in Pittsburgh, he's already begun to instill that culture. What is that culture?
Well, it's a...
Roger Ayers coming over to the table real quick to explain exactly what that last issue was about. It was a shot clock issue, so it will be Pitt basketball.
Well, Roger Ayers explained it easily. No reset on a shot clock when there's a technical foul on the offensive team.
So back to your point about what kind of culture he wants to create at Pitt.
Well, it's about playing hard. It's about being a great teammate, about being a great team. Listen, it's a word that's not a foul. See, he just threw himself. That's just a freshman play. Culture is about establishing a way to be successful. And it's true in business. It's true in any sports team. You have to have a way of doing things every minute of the day that's going to allow your team to be successful. And that's what he's creating. The talent level on Pitt's team right now is at the bottom end of the ACC. There's no doubt about that. Does he have a few freshmen? Yes, he does. But he's trying to establish a way that we can build this program going forward and establish a way to win games. And you saw the terrific athleticism by Endear.
Yeah, Trey McGowan's paid it off at the other end with an and one.
You know, when I watch college football during the fall, and I see a precocious freshman quarterback, throws a couple of touchdowns, then he throws into triple coverage, and you go, how could he do that? It's because there's a lack of experience, and that's what these, particularly three freshmen, have shown us today. The effort level is very good.
You could say the same for West Virginia. They have a 12-point lead. Now it's 14. First bucket in the second half.
And I like that. He made that shot last year. Good rhythm shot.
Xavier Johnson, he has 4 fouls this afternoon. Johnson, and another chance at a three-point play. When we come back, Xavier Johnson will try to complete that and keep Pitt within shouting distance. Join ESPN and the V Foundation in the fight against cancer. Visit v.org/donate. All donations benefit the V Foundation for Cancer Research. A couple years ago, Bob Huggins was honored at the Dick Vitale Gala for being such a champion in the fight against cancer. He started a cancer foundation here in Morgantown, named after his late mother, Norma Ray, who passed away from cancer back in 2003.
And one of the cool things about Bob Huggins' contract is he gets $25,000 for every win over Kansas, and they have beaten Kansas, and that money goes right into the foundation. So for a great cause. And I know I mentioned the basketball family. His dad, Charlie, a great high school coach in Ohio for many years, and Larry, I mentioned, an outstanding player at Ohio State, played with Clark Kellogg.
Huggs was the Ohio Player of the Year coming out of high school in 1972. Here's another elbow jumper by Konate off the mark. And it's going to stay West Virginia ball. Good scrapping hustle by Issa Ahmad under the boards.
West Virginia has 21 turnovers. They've taken 12 less shots today, and they're only 11 points down. It says something about the way they battled. But they're going to lament a lot of silly turnovers.
And their loss to Florida, they committed 21. Today they have forced 21. Brown the rebound for Pitt. And Beetle Bolden doing a good job of tying things up. It's going to be West Virginia basketball.
Brown's got to keep that ball. We call it chin it. Grab the ball and take the ball underneath your chin and make sure those elbows are not out and swinging. But take a look. When this ball comes down, he allows the, see how he drops it at waist level? That allows a 6-foot player to reach in and grab that ball. That's just something he's got to learn, and something the coaching staff's got to develop with him.
Bolden, corner three. Ahmad working the boards again. Here's Konate, had it blocked, but a foul's called, and Sagaba Konate will go to the line and shoot.
Last year, when you think of West Virginia in recent years, all the success, the pressure, what it did was it turned teams over, and so there were a lot of extra possessions on the defensive end. They were also, as you mentioned earlier, a great offensive rebounding team. So last year, they averaged 11 more field goal attempts than their opponents. This year, it's 1.5 field goal attempts a game because they're not as good a rebounding team, and they're not as good a team at turning you over. And today, it's a little bit different. Looks a little bit more like what we've seen in recent years.
Well, coming into today, West Virginia had 122 turnovers. Their opposition only had 108. Different story this afternoon against Pitt. Konate a rebound. That's 5 rebounds to go along with 10 points and 3 blocks from Sagaba Konate. Check that, 4 blocks now.
Pitt staying in that zone. Remember, West Virginia's moved the ball well through the middle. And Ahmad is the key to this zone offense.
Now 5 on the shot clock for West Virginia. Picked off by Johnson.
Watch out.
And he throws it down.
This kid's going to be sensational someday. He's absolutely been sensational so far early in this year.
He's right on his average, 17 points. He averaged 16.3 coming in.
And he's played poorly in many ways. And that's just youth.
Well, today on ESPN, we've got an afternoon college hoops doubleheader, starting with an old Big East rivalry when Georgetown takes on Syracuse at the Carrier Dome at 3:30 Eastern. Then Zion Williamson and number 3 Duke hosting Yale at Cameron Indoor. Both games available on the ESPN app.
Well, Jeff Capel, when he came back to Duke from, watch out here. That's what we're talking about. That's the first two-handed block I can remember seeing in a long time this season. But and I love the fact that they attacked him. He close to the record?
5th block of the game, 1 shy of tying the all-time record set by Dior Fisher, 190 career blocks.
I love the intensity. What was that, McGowan's? I love that. Take it to him.
Harris with the shot clock winding down.
That's a foul. No, he missed a foul. That's a good call. That's a good call.
And Bob Huggins can't believe it, but while there's a timeout on the floor, let's take a look back at that patented two-hand block by Sagaba Konate.
Well, they put out an all-points bulletin this week in Morgantown for the old Sagaba Konate, and he showed up today. This is the guy that they've been looking for. Take a look. Two hands, vertical, catch it.
Coach, I don't think people realize how difficult that is, especially on a dunk attempt.
You know, last year when we talked to him about shot blocking, and I talked to Eric Martin, one of the assistant coaches at West Virginia, who does an incredible job at the big guys. He'll be a head coach soon, in my opinion. I asked him, I said, how much do you work with Sags on shot blocking? He said, Coach, we don't mess with it. It's all instinct. And what he has worked on is his low post game, which has steadily gotten better. But with Konate, it's about pride, body position, timing, and then the instinct. And you see the pride he has today every time he blocks a shot.
Looking over at the Mountaineer Maniacs, giving energy and getting it back. And that call is going to go against the Panthers again. And that's going to be the fourth foul on Xavier Johnson.
Johnson and Coach Capel did not like it. Beetle Bolden got himself caught in the no man's land in that corner there. And remember now, there's a cylinder rule this year. You know, you got to give the offensive player room to move. He's got to be able to pivot. He's got to be able to move his body. And that, to me, was a little too much contact. By rule this year.
Bolden misses the front end of the 1-and-1. We were talking about this earlier. Win or lose for this young Pitt team, a learning experience today.
Without a doubt. I'd watch every minute of this videotape the next couple days with the team, possession by possession. Rich, they're in this game, and they've played poorly.
The lead is 12, and a timeout is called. Now it's going to be West Virginia basketball. They stop the clock with 8:20 to go.
One thing you notice is that this young Panther team is playing hard.
And now we're seeing some full court pressure from the Panthers. And it's a backcourt violation.
When the ball is deflected out of bounds in the backcourt by the defense, there's no reset of the clock. That's the rule now. If they're going to talk this over, because if the ball's not deflected by the defense. Yeah, see, that ball was deflected.
Against the Mountaineers.
And that's why the clock was at 26.
Esau Ahmad checks in for the Mountaineers.
So now Emmett Matthews goes to the bench. Esau Ahmad checks in. And it will be Pitt basketball. A three can make it a single-digit deficit for the Panthers. Instead, it's McGowan slashing to the hole.
You know, McGowan's is not worried about shot blockers because he keeps attacking the basket.
The top recruits in Steven Adams in Pittsburgh. Trey McGowan's now with 15, and it's a 10-point West Virginia lead.
Pitt staying in that zone. And again, a little too much ball, too much dribbling. Only 10 on the clock here. They did not get into the offense quickly.
Inside Ahmad, lost it. Here comes Pitt. Ellison puts it down. That's the first bucket of the game for Malik Ellison.
And how about this Pitt team? Over 20 turnovers, they have not gone away.
Well, there's no quit in Pitt, Fred.
And that's because of what Jeff Capel is establishing. Hasn't been pretty today, but they keep coming after you.
Thank you, Chris, from one rivalry to another, but give us a little instruction on this rule.
Well, what happens is when the ball is knocked out of bounds by the defense, the clock does not reset. So watch. West Virginia has the basketball. Shot clock is running. Ball deflected out of bounds at 26. So West Virginia, because it's a defensive play, only gets 6 more seconds. Now, how do they get 10 seconds? They can buy a timeout, and then the clock would stay at 26, but they would get a new 10. Otherwise, they only had 6 seconds to get it over. Violation. That rule was explained to Bob Huggins.
And that very thing just happened going into that timeout. Bob Huggins called timeout, gave him some extra time to get the ball across half court. And now the clock's going to reset to 20 with the side out of bounds for West Virginia.
Got to get into it quickly. They hold the ball too much against the top of that zone. Got to find ways to continue to get the ball inside in the paint because it's been effective.
5 on the shot clock for West Virginia. Bolden, step back 3.
That was one of those possessions where Bolden could not see over the guards out top to throw it into the post because they were open. Johnson's got to be smart here. Can't do it all himself.
Pitt chopping wood this second half, trying to get back in this backyard brawl. McGowan's blocked from behind.
Guess who?
And Bolden pays it off at the other end. Sagaba Konate is now tied for the all-time career number in blocks in his West Virginia career. And now the West Virginia faithful are saying it should be Mountaineers basketball. Let's take a look at that record-tying block from Sags Konate.
First of all, I love McGowan's. This kid just keeps coming. And there you see the block. And that led to the run out by Bolden, and he finishes at the other end.
That 3 by Johnson is short, but he gets his own miss. Here's McGowan's for 3. Too strong. And Konate another rebound. Stat sheet stuffer kind of afternoon for Sagaba Konate, friend. And he'll go back to the free throw line. 10 points, 7 boards, and 6 blocks.
Chukwuka, again, we talk about Konate and understanding verticality. Chukwuka just came right down on Konate. And he's going to go sit for a while because that's his 4th foul. You just got to understand the rule if you're a big guy inside. There are very few big guys in college basketball that can score over length. And so when a guy catches position, especially when he's not 2 feet in the paint, put your hands to the ceiling and make him make a tough shot over you. Right. Very few guys do that.
Coaches call that walling up, right?
Just wall up and, you know, hands to the ceiling.
Konate, perfect 4 for 4 from the line, came in shooting 79% from the stripe. And the lead is back up to 12 with 5:20 to go. And Wilson Frames stepped on the sideline. That's another Pittsburgh turnover.
Got to understand court geography.
22 turnovers.
Yeah, good skip pass by Johnson. You just got to know where your feet are. You have to have educated feet when you play on that sideline as a shooter.
Ahmad tried to lob it to Konate. He wasn't ready for it. And good hustle transition defense for the Mountaineers. Harris knocks it out of bounds.
You know, as crazy as it sounds, Pitt's a 6-0 run from being right back in this game. And while we've chronicled some of the poor play today, their effort level's been outstanding.
They are young, they are inexperienced, but they are improving every game. They're going to be a tough out in the ACC this year.
Yep, and Brown that time, maybe a little bit of intimidation, a little bit of fundamental work right there, just shoveled his feet. Jason Cable, the assistant coach, got up and he did the travel sign. He said, hey, you travel.
Checking in the Panthers number 5, Tony.
And now Adis Tony checks back in, number 5 in blue. He's got 4 fouls already.
You think about this, Pitt's played the majority of this game with 3 freshmen in key spots. Staying in that zone. I like any time Issa Ahmad catches the ball in the zone.
Now Ahmad is out on the wing. Harlan in the corner. Air ball. And here come the Panthers. McGowan's out to Tony. Weak side rebound from Harris. West Virginia leads the all-time series in the backyard brawl, 97-88. Looking for win number 98 in this vaunted college basketball rivalry, and they're 4 minutes and 2 seconds away from securing that win. Wesley Harris at the line, shooting. 6'8" junior out of Jackson, Mississippi.
He's a guy that doesn't give you a lot of stats, but he's been very good on the press in the past. He started virtually every game he's been at West Virginia, and of course, he played on a great high school team with Malik Newman at Callaway High School in Jackson, 4-time state champs. Spent a year in JUCO, and he's good on the point of that press.
And now more full court pressure from West Virginia. Here's McGowan's. Tried to throw it down on Kanate, and he missed.
I like it. I love it, in fact.
Both players are down at the other end of the floor still.
I think they could have called a foul on that because McGowan's went right at the rim. Now, Kanate hit his head, and he's down, so we'll check on him.
Trey McGowan's went right at Sagaba Kanate. Kanate went down, gripping his head, but nevertheless, that's a block that gives him the all-time career record. Let's go to the studio with Chris Cotter.
Okay, Rich, just a reminder, in Cincinnati, they're underway. Xavier at Cincy. This game is on ESPN+. If you don't have it, just go to ESPN.com to download it. We'll bring it over to ESPN.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Phillips 66, proud sponsor of Big 12 basketball.
Chapter number 186 in the backyard brawl, and history made on that last block.
Well, watch this play now. There's no foul here. They both come down hard, and they just get entangled. And the view that we gave you from the baseline, take a look right here. See, it's really not much up there at the follow-through. There was some contact, but not on the dunk. And then they tangled up and nothing. So, you know what that was? That's indicative of the way this game's gone today.
Right.
Both teams competing. And these officials have been to the monitor, luckily during a lot of the TV timeouts, but there's the record. Sagaba Kanate 7. Now, if you're wondering at home, his record is 9 against Baylor. And who knows? But I got to tell you now, I absolutely love the way this Pitt team has competed today. And I love this Trey McGowan. He's got no fear.
Both teams exhibiting a ton of effort and energy. West Virginia with the 61-48 lead. It's tough to overcome 23 turnovers, which is what the Pitt Panthers have. Although West Virginia, for their part, have committed 20 themselves.
Too easy.
And Ahmad wanted a chance at a three-point play. Instead, he'll go to the line and shoot a pair. Sports Center tonight after the Lomachenko-Pedraza world title fight on ESPN with Bucci and Anderson. They'll have an exclusive interview with the Heisman winner and all the highlights from the 119th Army-Navy football game, plus Stephen A. Smith and Teddy Atlas with live reactions of the boxing match and analysis from the fight. Sports Center tonight on ESPN. Issa Ahmad at the line shooting 2 as Terrell Brown has fouled out.
Key now for Jeff Capel is to go get some front line guys to go with this backcourt, because these 3 freshmen are going to be very good ACC players. They'll have growing pains, And they're going to be a lot this year in a very good league, but this team plays hard. They're together. They certainly haven't been intimidated today.
And with the proliferation of transfers around the country, that could happen sooner than later for the Panthers.
Yep. A couple transfers, grad transfer.
Tony attacking.
Another one of those freshmen. He went right to the rim. Tony did. What sticks out to me with Pittsburgh, and particularly with the freshmen, has been the fearlessness. Take a look at this drive right here. Right to the rim. There's nothing better than dunking on a shot blocker, really. You see that time Konate doesn't leave his feet because he doesn't have the angle.
And now Tony completes the three-point play, his first 3 points of the afternoon. And one of those 3 freshman starters for Jeff Capel.
Staying in that pressure, they'll go 2-2-1 back to the zone usually.
Konate. 14 points to go along with his 7 rebounds and 7 blocks for Sagaba Konate. 3 minutes to go. Johnson. And he drew the foul underneath, and Xavier Johnson will go back to the free throw line.
When you think of Jeff Capel, you think about the great recruiting he's done the last few years for Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. And there you see the back line. Chukwuku doesn't get deep enough, and that allows Konate to get on the baseline. But I mentioned the WCACC, the Catholic League in D.C., which Xavier Johnson has come out of. When you think of Duke basketball, I think of Danny Ferry, and I think of Mike Bray being an assistant coach at DeMatha, Kenny Blakeney through the years, Tyler Thornton, Quinn Cook, and this young man, Xavier Johnson, played for Joe Wooten, Morgan's son at Bishop O'Connell.
Bolden. Whoa! Get up, big fella! And still, Pitt continues to attack. Oh, that was another Sports Center top 10 nominee from Beetle Bolden to Sagaba Konate.
And here's the icing on the cake today. This young man missed his first 2 shots, which were 3-point shots, okay? And since then, he's made 1 foul line jumper, and he's dominated in the paint. Be great at what you're good at. You want to play in the NBA? Be great at what you're good at. Be a great role player. Be a great finisher. Be a great shot blocker. Be a great rebounder.
And with all those things, Fran, you know what he is? He's a great energy giver to this Mountaineers team.
That's how he has to play. He's a marginal NBA prospect because of his size. That's not hurting his feelings. That's what teams think. I've talked to these guys.
And McGowan's lost the shoe, but West Virginia lost the basketball. That's their 21st turnover of the afternoon.
You want to be a big guy in the NBA, run the floor, rebound your position, screen, run to the rim, and catch lobs, and anything else is gravy. You do those things, you make money.
Konate's made his hay this afternoon, 16 points and 7 blocks, and the all-time West Virginia record in the ladder. Well, the Pitt Panthers in this backyard brawl history have won their last 2 games at West Virginia. This is the first time they've been back here in Morgantown since 2012. Today, the outcome a little bit different.
Well, I love the rivalry, and I hope both athletic departments will agree to continue it, because it's a great non-conference game in December. It really is. It's got history. It's got 2 coaches who will put teams on the floor that will play hard. And, you know, there's been a lot of talking. We've been paying attention to courtside. There have been very few dirty plays today. There's been a lot of hard plays, a lot of hard fouls. Look at this.
And a blocking foul is going to be called on Beetle Bolden. He threw the ball to Issa Ahmad, hit him right in the face.
He fell asleep, Ahmad. He just throws it back to Ahmad. Ahmad is just assuming that Bolden's going to bring it up the court.
And a heads-up play by Beetle Bolden, almost getting the offensive foul called there. Instead, Trey McGowan's will go to the line, and Bolden saddled with his 4th foul. McGowan's with 16. If he makes this free throw, it'll tie his season high.
I'll tell you what, this kid has impressed me. I've seen this team at practice and then against St. Louis, and I knew how good Xavier Johnson was. But you've gotten a taste today, if you're a Pitt fan, of how good this McGowan's kid's going to be. He is a junkyard dog, and he's a good athlete, too. Oh, he double dribbled.
And that's turnover number 23. Both teams have committed 23 turnovers today.
That's where Beetle Bolden is not at his strength. He's not a natural playmaker.
Bob Huggins has experimented with Chase Harler and Jermaine Haley, controlling the point, if for no other reason than just to get Beetle Bolden off the ball a little bit to allow his shooting prowess to come through. Still a work in progress. And now Pitt regains the lead in the turnover department, dubiously. That's their 24th. 2 minutes to go, 10-point West Virginia lead. Rich Hollenberg, Fran Fraschilla. It's rivalry Saturday. Pitt and West Virginia in the backyard brawl. After this, stay tuned. It'll be Cincinnati and Xavier in the crosstown city matchup.
Oh, that'll be fun. Little Grater's ice cream. How about this?
A Deese Tony in the second half.
How about this Pitt team? And the freshmen particularly.
And now they're just down 8.
They don't have to foul right here. Look at this.
Picked his pocket. McGowan's got it. He wanted to call a timeout. Either way, it's going to be Pitt basketball with the possession arrow.
This is the equivalent of a 15-round boxing match. And right now, it looks like West Virginia may win on points. But I'm telling you, they know they've been in a dogfight. And if I were Jeff Capel, and one of the things I would do with my team in this situation, win or lose, is go back tomorrow, whenever they meet again, I would watch the entire game and show this team that we were within 8 with 1:39, and we did a lot of things right and point them out. But there were so many things that they did wrong that they're going to learn from that would have given them even more of a chance to win this game.
Well, Sagaba Konate has been a difference maker. Maybe when it's all said and done, he's been the difference maker for West Virginia, Fran.
Absolutely. Remember, this is a guy that came on the scene a year ago as a sophomore and totally dominated the defensive end of the floor with his shot blocking. And then the improvement inside, his scoring last year got better and better. And today we've seen glimpses of the sophomore that really put himself on the map a year ago. It allowed him to be invited to the NBA Combine.
Pitt in the midst of a 6-0 run. West Virginia's turned it over 5 straight times. Tony, air ball. And an empty possession for Pitt with $1:25 to go. Here's Napper. He's going to be trapped. And he calls a timeout.
This is amazing. Look at that. That is unbelievable. Over the square. Unbelievable. And if you take that body and that athleticism and you add the intensity that he normally plays at, particularly in the paint with his rebounding and shot blocking, that's how you become a great role player in a league that pays a lot of money for role players.
And with this great performance we've seen from Konate, this is still a game that is within reach for the Pitt Panthers. They're down 8 with 1:19 to go. And you mentioned this earlier, Fran. Their 2 losses have come by 1 point each. You think about if they clean up a few of these turnovers in this game, we could be looking at Pitt being on the verge of remaining undefeated this season.
Yeah, and you know that would have been a tall order anyway. West Virginia, they've got a couple tough ones coming up. They'll open with Texas Tech before they make their swing out to the University of Texas. Remember, this West Virginia team was beaten at home by Buffalo, who is now ranked. So they got knocked down early, and they are starting to find their sea legs a little bit.
Let's check in the studio with Chris Cotter. Chris?
Okay, guys, Cincinnati at Xavier is underway over on ESPN Plus, and as you can see, it's a good game right now. Just a one-point game between these two rivals. Again, as soon as you guys wrap things up, we'll send this game between Cincinnati and Xavier over to ESPN2. Rich?
Thank you, Chris. We have about, 75 miles between Morgantown and Pittsburgh? There's only, 3 miles between Cincy and Xavier?
Exactly. New coach Travis Steele with Chris Mack off to Louisville, where he's doing a fabulous job already. But Travis knows the tradition at Xavier. They usually promote from within, which they have. Short.
And here's McGowan's on the run out. Step through, blocked from behind by Harris. We've seen a lot of good examples of transition defense from the Mountaineers today.
Effort, and that's all effort. Harris that time with effort. Something that's been part of the DNA here under Bob Huggins. Take a look, little step through, and here comes Harris. Again, McGowan's, you love the fact that he's on the attack. These guys will live in the weight room, these freshmen, with Gary Christopher, their terrific strength coach. You know, there'll be a point in time, Rich, where you're doing a game in 2 or 3 years. Well, you'll say, I remember the day we did the game at West Virginia when these 3 freshmen hung in there, played well, didn't capitulate.
I remember every game I call with you. File it away in the archives. This has been a good one, though. A rivalry that was left for dead about 6 years ago has been renewed last year. West Virginia beat Pitt 69-60.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if they don't make this a continuing, ongoing game, non-conference game in December.
Under a minute to go. And time is running out on the Pitt Panthers as Konate grabs another rebound.
Can't do that.
Another turnover.
Well, those are the things that the Mountaineers have to clean up before conference play, that's for sure. Again, this young Pitt team picked at the bottom of the ACC, and they're not going to be able to get away with that against some of the teams that will be coming in here in January and February.
Just from the flashes we've seen, maybe not the entire picture, they don't look like a last place team.
Their talent level in the ACC is low.
Yeah.
It really is.
Johnson forced it up. Another rebound for Konate, his 9th.
I wouldn't foul right here. And I pull it out. Next good play. Good sportsmanship.
The 186th meeting in the backyard brawl between West Virginia and Pittsburgh goes to the home team. The West Virginia Mountaineers now hold a 98-88 edge in the all-time series with a 69-59 win over the Pitt Panthers. West Virginia improves to 6-3 on the year. Pitt falls to 7-3 on the season. Our final once again, Pitt loses to West Virginia 69-59 for Fran Fraschilla and our entire crew. I'm Rich Hollenberg. Now we send you to Jason Benetti and Dan Dockich.